Well, we're getting closer to college football. 32 days to be exact when the season kicks off September 3rd. Media days now a thing of the past, but plenty to take away when it comes to the P5s. Bama and Georgia ready to roll in the SEC. The Big Ten feeling good about their future expansion. And the ACC, Mario Cristobal taking away that turnover chain and changing the culture there for the U, while Lincoln Riley stealing the show as they plan to bolt for the Big Ten. So when it comes to the favorites to win the P5s here, each conference, usual suspects at the top in the ACC, Big Ten, and SEC, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. We've seen that before. But in the Big 12 and Pac-12, splitting hairs there between Oklahoma, Texas, and Utah and the Trojans. Join us now, senior college football writer Dennis Dodd, coming away with the pulse as always when it comes to college football. And join us now. And Dennis, everything is behind us with those P5s and the media days, but I'm curious, what was your takeaways? Because there's a lot to unravel here before we get to the kickoff in September.
Yeah, lots, Brandon. I think the biggest takeaway after visiting all these media days was a lack of trust. We were more interested in the commissioners than the players, unfortunately, and that's why we're there, to talk to the players and coaches. The commissioners all made statements. Jim Phillips at the ACC with his famous, "We don't need to live in 2 or 3 gated communities." He was talking about, obviously, the SEC and Big Ten. Big 12 stabilization, that was George Kliavkoff's message last week, basically threatened the Big 12, hands off my teams after the exit of USC and UCLA. Greg Sankey at the SEC flexed and basically said you can have any kind of playoff you want just as long as it's all at large, no AQs. And then Kevin Warren shaking up the industry, using the word aggressive 7 times, bold 3 times, and basically saying the Big Ten wasn't done expanding. I think that sent ripples through the college football and college athletics community. But there was some lighthearted moments, Brandon. Lane Kiffin had the quote of the media days when he said there wasn't something quite right about Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, but USC and UCLA, the Pac-12, was just wrong. And I asked Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. This is on the day that he and Nick made up. It was a big deal, bygones be bygones. I got him on camera and I said, Jimbo, how are you cool with a guy you've called a narcissist? And he looked me in the eye and he said, "You're not from West Virginia, are you?" I guess that explained everything. I'm not sure, but it was fun. It was crazy. And now I'm just ready for some football, Brandon.
We're exactly 4 weeks away from that, too, when we're talking about the season kicking off. And I will look at some of those top games that you might have your fingerprints on here. Started with Alabama and Texas, September 10th. Steve Sarkisian facing his old boss and Nick Saban.
Yeah, this is, I think, for Texas, the way things have gone, this is their de facto SEC opener, even though it's going to come in 2 years. So much at stake here. Quinn Ewers, how's he going to play against an elite defense? And this is going to be week after week for Texas, by the way, in the SEC. And Steve Sarkisian, what more could be on the line? He was the nation's best play caller at Alabama while he was there. Now in year 2, having gone 5-7, a lengthy losing streak during that season, playing his old boss, everything on the line. And Brandon, I looked it up. This is really interesting for Alabama. They haven't played a non-conference road game in the Power 5 this early since 2011 in Penn State. The last time they did it before that was 2002 at Alabama. So really interesting, Alabama testing itself early.
Getting a test early, as you mentioned, there with the Longhorns. They'll get one October 8th, too, with Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. The best buds back together again. The game we got all circled there when it comes to the SEC.
Well, when they start sniping at each other, this game quickly became the biggest game of the season. Not only does it help decide the SEC West, it's going to be the handshake. Is it going to be a prize fight or is it going to be a game? I mean, they buried the hatchet, fortunately not in each other by now, but it's going to be very interesting because Alabama's going to be preseason number 1. Texas A&M, I don't think, is quite there. After that, what now is almost an inexplicable win over Alabama last year in College Station with a backup quarterback, and they did nothing with it going 8-4. I know there are a lot of injuries down the stretch, but Texas A&M has to turn the corner at one time or another. And this game being in Tuscaloosa, I think there's a lot of revenge at stake for Alabama.
Is this a prove-it game when it comes to Jimbo Fisher, as we've talked about in the past? We talk about the contract, the talent he has in the roster now. Is this the moment he needs to kind of propel the Aggies to maybe the top of that conference?
I think it's a prove-it game. They have that third game of the season, September 17th, when Miami visits Texas A&M. And I think that's more of a game that defines Texas A&M seasons. I've said all along in the offseason, this isn't a team as constructed right now that's ready to challenge for the division title. I think in their heart of hearts, the Aggies know that. This is a gap year. Okay, we all know about the best recruiting class ever, 8 5-stars. The question is yet to be determined is how many of those 5-stars are going to see the field and going to contribute meaningfully this year. I don't think very many. And I think Jimbo Fisher knows that. You're still looking at a 9-3, 8-4 season. This is not a playoff team. They're going to be tested extremely hard by Miami. And then the Alabama game, Alabama's got maybe a 2-touchdown underdog going into that game on October 8th. So you would like to say it's a prove-it game, but I think in Aggie Nation, they're waiting for 2023 when these young guys hit.
A week later on the 15th, we get in the Pac-12, the co-favorites here, USC at Utah. What about that matchup?
I love this game. With all the upheaval in the Pac-12, this is a game that's going to define the Pac-12. USC leaving, obviously, in 2 years. But think about this, Brandon. In the last 8 meetings, Utah has split with USC. That has never happened in the history of the rivalry before. It goes back to the 1930s. And coming off the biggest win in series history for the Utes, 42-26, this is a prove-it game for USC because Lincoln Riley, if nothing else, comes into a program that lacks toughness. He said it out loud. We need to get better at both the offensive and defensive lines. What is Utah football all about? Toughness. And they're the reigning champions. They're trying to go back-to-back. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest games, not only in the Pac-12, but of the season, just because of the stakes. Utah may be going to the Big 12. Utah trying to go back-to-back. USC leaving in 2 years. And Lincoln Riley tried to put his stamp on football out west.
Before I let you go, those notable games November 26th that might be catching your eye. I think you have 3 of them here. I want to take a look at them and break down each matchup, what you expect to see.
Yeah, this is every late November, right? USC, Notre Dame. Notre Dame trying to get a piece of USC at the end of the season. Again, Lincoln Riley playing the elements. You would think at that time of the year, Michigan, Ohio State, it's always meaningful. Revenge for Ohio State, which has one of its best teams in about a decade right now. Alabama, Auburn, I don't have to tell you about that. Will Brian Harsin make it to the Iron Bowl? How about that one? So those 3, they're always capping the season on the last Saturday in November.
The Trojans just get ready for all the snow and cold weather for the Big Ten in the future. So that's what that game is for. We'll see how it ends out there. All right, as always, Dennis Dodd, appreciate your time breaking it down. The Cover 3 podcast, you can catch the guys picking the over and under when it comes to the guys in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and more. First, whether if the loaded Buckeyes team is poised to go 12-0, reclaim their top spot in the Big Ten. Download and give them a follow.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.